Should we revisit some of the questions we asked the last time just because that recording never went through?
Let's do it. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
cool. How about I start? What, so you're working at a startup. What's the reason you didn't end up getting fired? Because a lot of people ended up getting let go. What does it take to stick around? Like, what kind of work did you have to put in to be one of the few that survived?
Yeah. No, yeah, I remember this question. It's really good. It's an interesting question because I think there's some different factors that play into it. I think one factor is working a lot and to a degree being a yes man in the sense of tasks. Um, I think there's a balance to this because sometimes you need to know why something's happening, and sometimes you just need to make it happen. And there's different tasks that obviously play under that sphere of like, okay, if a certain license is expired, this is just automatically the main task. That's the reason why, like it's expired, we just need to get it done. But if it's something like a systems change or something like that, oftentimes there's a lot of questions that come up, and in those moments, it's usually just trusting the team to see the bigger picture. And that also again leads into the other thing of in the uh, 2+ years that I've had so far with the company. That's something I've noticed and something I actually really want to learn and take away from it is the managers really know the big picture or they see it. And there's a proven track record. So there's essentially 2+ years now of people getting hired and fired, um, and the business growing. And you can usually tell how that's being done looking back. And so far, it's been really interesting where now you think, oh, how would this person fit into this role right now? And you realize, whoa, this probably wouldn't work. We wouldn't be where we are today. And I think that on a grand scheme of things, each person has their place in the world. And if you know your place and you um, are open to growing, and if the opportunity that you're in is open to that as well, that's usually where you can win. So if
Mm,
you are naturally an operator and you are, problem solving all day, and if the company is like, for example, if it has a limited budget every month and it's only able to take on so many projects, and you're basically just like at a limit, and all or most companies have that limit. Um, it's just great when you can find your place in the company and also have that position itself be or have the opportunity for that to evolve.
yeah,
But I think that um yeah, here I feel like I my attitude right now, and I think for the time this time so far has been like I'll be here as long as they have me. I'm gonna do my best as long as they have me. Because again, obviously with working remotely and whatnot, it's kind of tricky and difficult, and I can see the potential value in having someone on site. Um, but until that happens, we're gonna grind and get stuff done.
so it's just kind of waiting for the ball to drop
Yeah, and
a
maybe it
little bit.
doesn't, maybe it does. I think that from what I've seen of not just our company, but all companies, it's bound to happen, you know. I personally haven't met anyone who's been with one company their whole life, and this is my first like legit job.
Yeah.
And so I think that we'll see how it goes. I'd love to grow here and um, keep the company growing, and you know, until
No, that's pretty sweet.
yeah,
So pretty much it's just like the mindset of I'm gonna be learning as much as I can and try to solve as many problems as I can. not only doing the bare minimum, like what's required of you, kind of always going outside your box of even your own responsibilities, kind of like going above and beyond pretty much, like
I think,
constantly trying to,
yeah, in the grand scheme of things, that's a easy thing to say,
yeah,
and very difficult to do. And a lot of times it's difficult to do because you just don't see the path in front of you. Where there was a point in the job where I started just being like the right hand man to the main operator there, and so he was the co-founder of the company, and I was essentially just like helping him with anything. You know what I mean? Like you do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and that was a great experience in learning to do a lot of different things. But coming back to that question of doing the thing, but also asking why, and also coming up with new solutions. I think that I'm just getting to that point where I'm starting to have a lot more, not just freedom, but a lot more. I feel like I'm maturing into that where I'm able then to see something, do it,
like
uh,
initiate pretty much.
initiate, do more, try this, try that. Um, I think that that's something that, at least looking back here, it's slowly been just building up. Sometimes it was lower, sometimes the opportunities are higher. Um, but I think that usually, if you understand how you make the company money, that's usually when it's very valuable because you start seeing how other people are making the company money and how you can potentially make the company more money.
Mm,
And thinking of it like that really helps clear things up because I remember when I first joined, it didn't make sense to me because I was like, how am I gonna create these pages or do this research and get paid for it? Like, how does that make sense? I wasn't connecting the dots between my task and how the business was moving forward.
yeah,
And again, some of those tasks maybe didn't directly move the business forward, but what I'm doing now is project management, project coordination, where you are seeing in reality, okay, if we can do this, if we can negotiate this, if we can do this on time, we're going to save money here.
mm,
Save money, make money, essentially. And so that's been a lot more, first of all, a lot more stressful to a certain degree, but at the same time, a lot more rewarding because you're starting to see, okay, we closed this, at X amount, and we were able to do that because of, one, two, three things that we decided to try.
yeah,
Um, so it's definitely a lot more like hands-on and things change when you change them. It's not like yeah, I would say it like that, basically.
that makes a lot of sense. It's hard. It's hard being willing to go above and beyond, even though you could make the excuse that I'm not paid enough to do this. That's what a lot
Yeah.
of people say. They work for someone, they're like, well, I'm not paid enough to care to actually do more than do more than is asked of me to a point,
Hmm.
or do at least what is asked.
And I think it depends. It depends on the job. It's hard to care about um, working at like a retail store if you're just
Yeah,
folding
for sure.
clothes. It's hard to think about like how do we make more money here? Although if you start to think about it that way, you can become very valuable to a retail store and
Yeah,
help to make more
I
money.
think it matters like character wise too. Like
Yeah.
if you are just gonna be kind of half-assing your way through everything and you're just, I'm not paid enough or this job doesn't really matter, then I think in the long run, that's going to be your attitude towards everything. Because most jobs at a certain point just feel like they don't have much value. So I think it's good to build like that mindset. Like I'm going to do the best I can and I'm going to learn as much as I can. Like my employees that I've had, what I told them is, hey, the better you work, the faster you work, the more you're going to get paid. So that's like a direct result.
Hmm.
But I had to let go of some people because they would just not care. There wasn't enough incentive. They didn't care about their work. But as soon as I put like, hey, you're gonna make more money, the harder you work, immediately they started caring about their job a lot more. But some people, money isn't even worth it. If they don't care about what they're doing, they just, and like I let them go because it's not worth trying to invest time into someone that doesn't care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing, probably what your company was doing, letting go of people. Like if they don't care about what they're doing that much, or at least they're not seeing the bigger picture, like it matters what kind of quality work you put in, then you're not aligning with the vision of the business. So it's time for you to go.
Yeah. I think that that part too, having a clear vision of the business, um, is super valuable. I actually want to ask you about this. But just from personal experience, there's times in a business, especially in a startup, where that's changing all the time because systems are changing and goals are changing, and all of a sudden you didn't get the result you wanted here, or it's doing really well here, and things are changing. And so it's hard to keep up with the vision, with the core values. Um, but how did that play out, or how is that playing out right now with you, and how does that help you and your employees, or instructing them, leading them? How does that essentially play into your business personally?
Like general values is what you're saying, like what drives the business in a way, like
Yeah,
what's the
like the
goal,
values,
the
the
vision.
goals, because it's hard. It's easier for a founder, for example, to have this grand vision and to put in days and nights into that, but it's hard to relay that, to people.
Pass it on
Um,
pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah, well, pretty simply put, like my end goal always is to have a satisfied customer, to give the best experience, because my product, there isn't much of a vision behind it.
Hmm.
It's just get as many people wearing my product, as many dogs, wearing my collars, and have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Doesn't mean we're going to mess up, it means we're going to fix it. How does that transfer to my employees? The It's in the paycheck. They do a
Yeah.
better job, I'll slip in more money and they notice. I will even tell them. Like I'll have a week where, we get a lot of orders in and they get them out on time, if not like sooner than
Hmm.
they're scheduled to ship. I'm gonna throw an extra $50 in the paycheck or whatever it is, just so that way they see that their work is valued and I notice it. And so I think a big thing, just same thing with the customer. Someone leaves a 4-star review. I'll reach out and I'm like, what can we do to make this a 5-star experience? And the next phase for my business is we're going to be going through all 40,000 customers that we have. And we're going to be reaching out and pretty much saying, hey, thank you for your business. Thank you for, sorry, I'm getting a little lost here. We have actual message already written out. Pretty much, thank you for being a loyal customer. Here's a free shipping discount. We don't generally offer free shipping. And we're going to throw in a free keychain if you decide to order products from us again.
Hmm.
And I'm going to have an employee dedicated to pretty much reaching out to either repeat customers that we've had in the past or people that have just ordered. Because Etsy doesn't have a system where you can actually reach out to people. But the
Hmm.
whole goal is for us to have I want to hit 50% return customer rate. We're at 30 right now.
Yeah.
And why I want to do that is I want to prove that I'm able to make a product and build an experience that people want to always come back to, where
Hmm.
people don't just forget, for it to be a brand that people think about when I think of quality customer service. Because we'll reach out usually within 5 minutes of someone messaging. Like someone
Wow.
messages, I'm gonna make sure, like, all right, I got a message. I'm gonna get back to this customer immediately, as fast as I can, so that way
Hmm.
they feel like they're cared for. And so that's pretty much the end goal is 100% satisfaction guarantee and actually standing by that. And for that, not just to be some random slogan, but for that to really be like what we're about, is
Hmm.
giving the customer that like perfect, flawless experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of went all over the place, but
No, that makes sense. That's actually really interesting because the vision of the company isn't necessarily to double or triple or quadruple, but it's to prove a concept, which is
yeah.
people who buy are happy.
And
Um, Yeah.
real quick, like I know people that have shot up in sales because they were just, pumping out as many listings as they can. But their management, their product sucked, even though they were getting way more sales than me,
Hmm.
right? Their product wasn't good because the reviews weren't good. They wouldn't fix issues for people. And there was a lot of delays all the time and all sorts of stuff going on with inventory. And
Yeah.
guess what? Sure, they probably made more dollar amounts still than I have, but their sales already tanked. For me, it's just a consistent, even when things are slow, I'm getting consistent sales from return customers. And it's just a slow, consistent growth.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think it's more important to build a quality business. It'll outlast the people that are making a lot of money. Don't look at your competition, look at your customer.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Hmm. That's a good thought.
Yeah.
Don't look at your competition, look at your customer.
Because you're not trying to sell to your competition. You're trying to sell to your customer. And whatever you focus on more, that's where your business is going to head. And
Yeah.
I think most likely your competition isn't focusing on customers that much. And even if they are, do a better job. I learned not to waste time looking at people's sales because at the end of the day, it just matters what you're doing. And this is a question for you, unless you have any follow-ups for me, but what gets you up in the morning? Like when you open your eyes, your alarm goes off, what's the thing that can get you out of bed? Because I have some days where I literally just I don't feel like there's a purpose for me like doing anything. Like I have a hard time. Like what's that thing that gets you up every day?
I think it's like I would say it's a cocktail of things, concoction. Everything from, well, it really depends on how the day before went and how it ended.
Mm,
Oftentimes, if there's some problem or something that came up later in the day or like right before the evening, and we know that we're going to be working on solving this tomorrow, I'm usually waking up and I've either thought about this at night, already,
mm,
or I'm waking up and thinking about the resolution here and how we're going to be solving this problem or set issue or whatever. Um,
mm.
if it's just one of these normal mornings, it's either the baby that's getting us up, usually thinking about that first thing. But I think that overall, in the sense of purpose, in the sense of like, I'm waking up, what am I getting to first thing? Um, it's being there for the people that need me. For my family, that's showing up and working, showing up and getting paycheck and being able to pay the bills and get life and keep going. For work, it's the craftsmen that need information. It's the sales consultants that need information or guidance or something like that. And so I feel like it's the sense of purpose comes from moving things forward.
Knowing that
Like
you're needed.
knowing that you're needed, yes. But not just there, but like genuinely moving things forward. It's hard to think about it that way when you don't have
Clear.
a clear goal and a clear like set of things of like, okay, we got this done, we got this done, we got this done. So I'm just thinking, for example, I'm out of a job and how do I keep moving things forward? You got to find, leads on new jobs, or you got to start something yourself, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. But either way, you need to make steps and essentially take the broader picture and just break it up into a lot of smaller things. So for example, if my goal for the month is for us as a company to install, an X amount of material, that's a great goal, and that might wake you up every day and you're like, oh yeah, we need to install this much. Uh, but the thought process is I'm going to wake up right now, I'm going to look through every job that we're doing,
The how.
I'm going to see what we're
Yeah.
doing, I'm going to see how we're going to get this done, check in with everybody. How's this job going along? How's this? And starting to build a picture of, okay, this is how it's going to be running. The typical or the issue with that that I personally face is I'm still having a hard time seeing that bigger picture. Um, where you're seeing, okay, this is the full month, this is the quarter, this is the year, this is how they're adding up, these are the numbers. Like that side of things is still difficult to see and difficult to forecast and difficult to understand even.
Mm,
But I'm
yeah,
slowly learning that, and I think that that's where things get fun. Um, I think that when you have a product, you're trying to sell it, and you're essentially just looking at the numbers. How do we play this? How do we do this? Let's try this. And it's a lot more of a zoomed out view where you're then able to essentially you're playing the game of business and you're trying to make something grow and something move forward. Um,
yeah,
so that's kind of what I would say. I think maybe with some more thought, I'd have a different answer. And I mean that in the sense of like that specifically just work wise. That's what would wake me up.
yeah.
In general, life wise, I think my purpose here is to help people. I think I've kind of come to that conclusion as much as I can. So whether that's, meeting up with people who are younger than me in an earlier stage of life and helping them, advising, listening, um, if that's, again, working with colleagues, with family, um, I feel I feel great when I'm able to be there for people, I think. So
Yeah,
yeah, if ever, I usually whenever I have an opportunity, especially if someone's alone, um, and they're like, I just worked out recently with one of my buddies here, and he was just like leaving our groups to go to the gym, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna join you. Like, this is gonna be fun. And it wasn't like the most convenient thing. It wasn't fun at all. It was painful, but it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like I have zero regrets. It was a really great time. Got to pick his brain, got to chat with him, and I even learned some things, and so that those types of things make me enjoy life and make me want to keep living, want to keep waking up.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's it's nice having a list of things that you know you need to do to make things move forward. Because with my business, it's not clear.
Mm.
There isn't a clear path that this is the path you take to get further for the business to grow. Because it's an algorithm based, like my business.
Mhm.
It's like some days things are going great and some days things aren't. And there's sometimes nothing you can do to change it, and sometimes there is. And it's easy to talk about the big picture goal, but breaking things down into days is difficult because each day sometimes feels like just another day. And
Yeah.
what do I do? Like, doesn't feel like the problem is finding significance in the small things. Like
Hmm.
today, I only need to do these things, but in the big picture, it adds up.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think it's the most difficult is taking things one day at a time.
Hmm.
Like today, I gotta get this done. Tomorrow, not thinking about tomorrow is what's hard for me. Because I can
Hmm.
plan things out, but it's like the execution part's very difficult.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think there's a point at which we can segment things, and I think that Alex Hormozy talks about this. He talks about it being a certain point of, you can tell someone to go market this product, or you can tell someone step by step, like turn on your computer, go click this button, go do this, go do
Yeah,
that. And those are like vastly different, obviously. But that second one gives me hope in the sense of like I know that I can do that. And I know that I can be doing that for a long enough time. I can then become the person who you say, hey, go market this product, and I can go market that product. Um, So I think that learning aspect is really interesting. But in the segmenting side, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to think about, okay, like we need to, like even for you, you need to, post this X amount or, sell a certain volume. But like, getting there, the thought process getting there is difficult.
Yeah,
Uh, but I
no,
think
that's
yeah, that's
exactly
interesting.
it. Growing a business is difficult because that's the whole thing is learning a lot of new things and trying to get to a point where you could just be like, all right, I'm gonna market this product. I'm gonna get this new design out. I'm gonna, do product research and for it to be simple. Like I'm gonna get a new product out in the market. And there's so many steps that it takes from talking to suppliers, manufacturers, making partnerships happen. Like it's a ton of work. It
Yeah.
seems simple, like, oh, there appears a product. But dude, the amount of hours of work and like stuff that goes into it's pretty tough. And I think the biggest regret I have is, and I don't think I had much control over this, so I don't think I can put that blame on myself necessarily, but not having enough of experience when it comes to like school, for instance. Why?
Mhm.
Because you have a deadline and you need to get this done. I have some experience, but execution is a difficult thing for me to follow through with something and get it done in the timely manner, like when it needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm very good at dragging things out. Like I'm a professional. If there was a job where your job is to drag things out as long as you can, I would be the most successful in that, like 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I think how does that look for you? Because for me, I always want to hear other people like how do you get some people have a lot easier time just getting things done, making to-do lists, scheduling out their life and budgeting and being very successful in that.
Yeah.
Like driven people. I'm a very driven person, but the thing is at the same time, I have these highs and lows, and I'm all over the place, and I'm not very like put together. I don't have great budgeting skills. I don't have good to-do lists or schedules. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. Like, what do you have you had success with that?
I think that that's definitely something I'm in the boat with
Yeah,
you learning. I'm looking at even guys who I work with who are years ahead of me and seeing how they think and seeing how they schedule things and seeing how they talk and talk about their tasks. It's actually quite interesting. You start to see very, very intentional conversations happen where if there's a meeting, it has a purpose, and we're preparing for that meeting, and this is going to happen here, and we're going to talk about this here. And I know you have this question right now, but bring it up then. And like very intentional, and they see the bigger picture in their week and their month and their year. I think that that's something that is difficult to do, but once you get it, like even having that year calendar, you know what I mean? I was just talking to someone yesterday and I was like, if you're looking at your calendar right now, we're a few days away from May. The first 4 months are gone. That's a third of
it's
the
fourth
year. A fourth?
quarter.
First 4 months are gone. Quarter's 3 months.
No, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, so first third is gone now. Quarter is gone, first third is gone.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy. I was like thinking about that yesterday. I was like, what in the world?
Frick.
Like thinking about it like that, you're like, oh yeah, every meeting I take right now matters. Every intention, any hour I put into a certain task matters because if I start right now, it's gonna compound from here, not from 2 months ago where I would have had more growth. It's gonna happen from here, and I just need to start and I just need to keep going.
Yeah,
But I think to answer your question, I think intentionality is the biggest thing here. I recently heard about someone that I knew or know, and someone was essentially talking about them and like what they learned from them, just observing with them. I think they might have lived together as roommates maybe at some point, but he was talking about them being like very intentional. Like you wake up, like, do you kiss your wife in the morning before you brush your teeth or after you brush your teeth? Why? But like every morning. Why? Like everything down to how you wake up, how do you walk to the kitchen, how do you greet your kids in the morning, how do you leave, how do you come home, like a lot of intentionality. And this is the most put together person that I've ever met in my life, hands down. Like hands down, they always have a reason for every word they say. And that's like rare, super rare. And it's very admirable. Every time you spend time with a person, you're just like, oh my goodness, I wish I could be like this guy. It's like really interesting. And the guy's right now, he's I think in his 40s, but um, it's fascinating to see. And I think that that's personally for me in the conversation of task building and essentially managing yourself. That's where I get my motivation and really want to build that discipline as well. I think that so far the success I've had with those kind of things has been like building out different workflows and to-do lists. I like doing that a lot. I like systems. I like processes. So even recently, like we built out for different projects that we're doing. So like we have one project, this is the state it's in. It's got different, different tasks within the project. And that stuff's fun to me. Like I really enjoy doing things like that. And if I can just match that energy with the driven side, that's usually where you can then have a lot of success with your own time. But I have heard a lot of people with like similar things to what you're saying, where, okay, scheduling is difficult to do. Maybe I don't know what's going on the day. I don't know what's going on tomorrow. Like bookkeeping, it sounds like, dude, it sounds like when you can afford it, it sounds like you need an assistant, someone who can look at the bookkeeping, someone who can look at your schedule and essentially be that point of contact between you and the world. And
Yeah.
that's where you start to place things.
That's what I'm trying for my wife to do for me. I'm like, yo, can you schedule out my week, bro? Just tell me what I need to do tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I think that sometimes I've seen this happen where a married couple will have like actually really good success when in business together. They'll be able to help each other and in the strengths and weaknesses that they both have. But that's difficult. It's difficult. But if you can get
Yeah.
it done, yeah,
No, that's I think gonna be my first investment once I'm able to afford it. And I'm actually serious. I've always thought about it. Like I want somebody taking care of the figuring out what I need to do. Not when it comes to big picture stuff, but like scheduling out things like, hey, you have to have this meeting, you have to get, you told this person you're gonna do this for them, get that done, you're gonna do this,
yeah,
do that. Like I'm just not that type of a person. Like it doesn't come easily. Like you see, you really like systems and getting things done. That's awesome. Like I wish I had that mindset when it comes to just enjoying even doing things like that. For me, it's like torture. I hate like, and it's a bad thing, and I'm really trying to change it. I'm not gonna use it as a crutch, but I like instead to envision things and then work towards them. But you're all over the place when you don't know exactly the steps you need to take. Some people
yeah,
are really good at systems and processes, but see, they don't have like a motivation what to use those systems and processes for. Sometimes some
yeah,
people have both. Some people like me just have the vision and the big picture, but have a very difficult time like being disciplined. I think that's the key word is discipline for me.
yeah,
Like I'm not afraid of saying, dude, I have big issues with like getting my butt off the couch and getting things done.
definitely. Yeah, no, I I feel you there for sure. Hmm.
So pretty much to wrap that whole thought up, it's one day at a time when you become it takes one day at a time to become the person you wanna be.
Yeah,
Like that one day you wake up when you said you're gonna get up. The one day when you did the thing you said you're gonna do. You went to bed on time. You went to the gym. That's the first step to becoming the person that you want to be. There's no
yeah,
tomorrow. Every time you say tomorrow, that means you're never gonna do it. What do you think your next season will look like? Right now, what season are you in, and what season are you hoping to be in? Meaning, like when it comes to work or your skills and where you're trying to get.
I think the season I'm in right now is definitely like a hustle mode season. And it's been pretty difficult because I haven't noticed this before. But the moment you start to hustle, like for real, I used to like hustle, yes. I work a lot. I work like 10, 12 hours a day. But I would go home and I would stop thinking about work, or even if you can't stop thinking about it, like you have stuff going on, there's still a disconnect between that and like what I'm trying to get to, which is just thinking about the projects we're working on, thinking about how to move things forward and like genuinely learning again. So
Mm,
I think that that's the stage I'm in is hustle slash learning. And the biggest thing right now that has been a distraction, I feel like, to that, aside from like social, events and things that happen there, is the lie that for some reason I need to be consuming content. I keep buying the lie. Like I keep buying the fact that like, oh, this person dropped a video. I need to watch this. Oh, this thing happened.
mm.
I need to check this out. Oh, wait, what are they posting? Oh, wow, they have this now. Cool. And like this, it feels like a thing that keeps coming back. And right now, well, we talked about this before, but I got rid of social media on my phone, and it's been honestly super nice. Like I'll still go on it sometimes on the laptop, but off the phone, it's so freeing. I'm like going through my day, and I'm like, oh, I haven't like checked this in 2 days now. Cool. Like I'll check it out, sure. And you like watch some stories, and then someone posts something that pisses you off, and so you're just like, turn this off. Which has honestly been another reason is like lately stuff has just been aggravating me on social media. Um, so
I
I've
guess that's a
been,
good thing.
it's a good thing, yeah, because it's actually keeping me off. Like every time I open it up, I'm like, I don't want to see, you know, I don't want anything here to affect, my state
Your
of
life, your state
joy,
of
of
mind.
peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so to answer the question directly, it's right now it's definitely hustle, learning, trying to become who the next stage of my existence is. Um, which I think the way I see it is growing in my job. So in my 9 to 5 or 10 to, whatever, growing in that,
Mm.
becoming very, very proficient, becoming very efficient, and being very responsible for the tasks at hand. Um, I think that like I'm trying and doing my best to get very serious um, in that and just to test how much I can do and how much I can handle. And this month is going to be actually a really interesting test for that because one of our managers is out for a month. And so it's going to be interesting to see how we push through that. It's going to be direct. So it's going to be like, okay, this person is not here for a month. How are we going to push things through? How are we going to move things forward? So it's like an extra push there. So really interesting. It's going to be fun. Like I'm really excited for that. Um, on the personal side and with BizBros, I think it's going to be learning learning everything to do with e-commerce, learning marketing in the sense of like speaking the language of marketing, learning, when the team says XYZ, you know that it means XYZ. You're not, pulling conclusions and not hearing what you should be hearing. But I think like learning the language essentially of these things, and that's basically just learning the basics. So that kind of ties into the learning aspect of my current stage. But I think that in the next phase of life, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the timeline here? What are you asking? Because if you're asking like 4 months from now, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like 4, 6 months, a year, like that's the timeline I'm thinking with these answers. So like I definitely want to become more proficient in the world that we
Yeah,
live in, world that we work in.
I'm asking the timeline you're thinking. That's the thing. I want to
Hmm.
know where your mind goes automatically. Like,
Well,
what's your vision right now? Like, how far out are you thinking? Because I don't think I'm capable of thinking 5 years out.
yeah,
I'm barely
that's very
capable of
difficult.
thinking 24 hours out. So I'm
Yeah.
really trying to like, yeah. So,
I think that when you talk about like the current stage, the current season, and then the season to come or the future season, that's my thought process a little bit is my first reaction is to think back. So like, okay, if I right now need to think future season, what's the last time I can think of myself being in a previous season?
mm,
And so my previous season was either before I joined this job, or I think that probably about 6, 7 months ago. I feel like from there was a different season that something switched. There was essentially I became more proficient at the job I do. And I started to, again, so to speak, speak the language and start to like actually learn how to negotiate with the different people I'm working with and how to talk to them.
mm,
Um, and I'm not saying I got good at it. I'm just saying I started to learn it and I saw how that started to take off. So I feel like that was a season. So I think the way I would look at seasons is probably like 6 months, 6 months to a year. I think we're going to be both in a new season. I think in 6 months to a year, we're going to be either in a, well, I think either way it's going to be better, but
yeah,
either it's going to be fruitful or a lot of lessons learned or, a lot of different things like that. I think that there's
yeah,
different aspects to it.
yeah. I think I agree with you with like, I think same here, honestly. Probably like 4 months already. I'm into a new season, like a new chapter with
Right.
like, I've never had to hop on Zoom calls consistently. I've never had to reach out to random people consistently and um network and have these conversations. So it's like completely new for me having to constantly interact with other people. I've been in like this own like little bubble for the past like 3 years,
Yeah.
just working on my own thing, trying to figure things out. And now I have like, you know, other people involved. So definitely like a lot of learning experience and like delegating work and actually going through with what I said I'm gonna do because other people rely on it.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting. It's a big learning curve.
Yeah. It's an interesting question.
Like right now, even I need to make sure my processes and systems are good and smooth with like even have a new partnership with Vlad. He's a friend. He's manufacturing collars for me, and
Mm.
why is because he has equipment that I don't, and he's able to print designs and stuff, and it'd be a lot more expensive for me to purchase each design and have like 100 grand of inventory just sitting that I can't even sell because it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I need to be constantly like improving my system, my process. Like if I mess something up on my end, it affects him and he has to like message you and be like, hey, I can't get this order process that's going to come out late because X, Y, and Z, and you did this wrong and you didn't do this right. And it just have to
Hmm.
be like a lot more attentive and take a lot more time in like figuring out my stuff. Because here, I mean, I can wing it all the time and everything's fine. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be as legit.
Yeah. I think I think most, if not all, businesses face that when they start hitting the next level. So there's certain levels that you pass where you're no longer you're maybe working with this one supplier, now you're working with three, four. There's different order processes for each, and you need to track all that. And there's, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Um, I think digging into that is, I don't know, for me, that excites me. I'm just like, yo, you get to work on processes. This is fun.
Yeah,
Systems
for
and
sure.
yeah. I think
And
that, yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just saying, I think that it's interesting being in your position because I feel like you know your thing very well. And I think a lot of times when you know a process very well, I've had this before where we wrote out a huge, Notion page process, and this is how you do XYZ. But there's one way that you do it. You know what I mean? Like you start putting the reps in, you eventually don't even ever look at that thing anymore. And oftentimes we'd come back to like the things that we built out for the purpose of having new people join. Usually, so whenever someone new joins, we start reviewing all that, and we're like, wow, there's some legit stuff in here, and you're just
Yeah,
like, dang, like, okay, do this, don't do this. That's really cool. Like, whoa, um, that's
yeah,
been pretty cool.
you don't realize how many things you do and how complicated certain things are because you've done it so much. It's just muscle memory. Like hiring a new employee. Like now that my employee is trained like really well and she knows everything, very like she caught on real quick. But I'm thinking like I already need to possibly hire someone else soon. And I just thought about the process of training employees. Dude, this is gonna suck so bad. And I forget every time. It's like you forget how hard it is. It's like whenever you're sick in the moment, you're like, dude, I can't believe how amazing it is not being sick. I'm so like,
Yep,
and then you feel good, and like a day later, you forget you were ever sick, and you're not even grateful that you're feeling good anymore. It's the
yep,
same thing with like training and hiring new employees. It's like, and you start realizing how many little things, like a sewing machine isn't simple. You need to constantly be diagnosing issues. Why is the thread ripping here? How come the tension isn't right here? Why is this, not perfectly smooth? This thread's loose here. You didn't cut this straight. You just ruined the whole like, $20 worth of fabric in one slice. And it's just
well,
like you're constantly like, and you don't realize how many little things, like even when it comes to something as simple as manufacturing like collars.
yeah,
It's ridiculous. And then I'm thinking I'm gonna train my employees to learn how to manage the shop, like post new listings consistently while I'm gone, so that way things don't slow down. And I'm doing it, and I can literally do it with my eyes closed and both my hands tied. Like it's that easy for
yeah,
me. And then I'm like right now, I was paying attention. I'm uploading a listing. And I'm like, shoot, there's so many little things. You have to go on eRank, you have to find keywords, you have to upload the listings like this, you have to adjust and crop it like this, and you have to make sure that these things are changed, is put in the right category. You have to make sure it's this, da, 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 da. And you're like, it actually does take a lot of work.
yeah,
And it just takes like repetition, slowly. You're getting there. Your muscles are getting stronger, and over time, it's like you don't even think about it. Like I literally just now almost uploaded a full listing during this recording.
you sly dogs.
I know.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I think that at some point, yeah, I feel that. So like making a material order for me, for example, is like second nature, you know.
Yeah.
There's definitely still mistakes that you need to watch out for. And
Oh, for sure.
I've been burned a few times where you're like, okay, like I'm double checking this every single time. But some things just start to happen and you're just like, okay, this is how we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fun. I'm excited for the new season to work with Biz Bros, work together, get things going. Like even this new idea we have to go to different gyms and pitch our product. Like that would be sick. Like
That'd be a lot of
getting a
fun.
pitch together,
Yeah.
learning it, and just on free time, like go to the gym you're going to currently. Ask them like, hey, can I get contact with the manager? or somebody that's in charge of putting products on the shelves at the gym and pitch it to them. Like, dude, that's gonna be fun, learning all that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if we only go with drop shipping, and we're not drop shipping, e-commerce, drop shipping's terrible. Um, Partnership with manufacturers is what I like to call
What?
it.
Drop shipping?
No, like what we're doing. We're
Oh,
partnering
yeah.
with manufacturers.
Yeah, basically. Basically.
Um, I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm all out of questions.
Yeah. I think there's one question that we asked last time. I don't know. We could touch on it. I don't know if it's beneficial, but the question of if you didn't know how old you are, how old would you feel?
Mm,
The interesting question.
I think that's a hard question to answer because it's relative to where you are currently. I don't know what I'm gonna feel like in 5 years, in a year, because when you're in your current moment, you feel, I think, the same, like at least for me. I always felt like the same person consciously. Like I never
Yeah.
felt a certain age, if that makes sense. Like looking back, I
Yeah.
don't know if everyone's like that though, because even my parents were like, dude, as a kid, you were a lot more like mentally, like you're aware of what's going on a lot more than most kids your age. So I was always like, I know I'm
I
a kid right
yeah.
now and it's only gonna last so long, so I'm just gonna enjoy this right now, but I know responsibilities are coming my way. It's a really weird thing to think as a kid, I
Yeah,
realize
that's
now.
for
Now
sure.
that I talk to little kids, they're thinking about Hot Wheels and ice cream.
Dude, what a life, man. Hot Wheels and ice cream. Sounds legit.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I'm with you there. It definitely comes down to the stage of life and um, kind of what you're going through. You talk to different people and they kind of give you different answers. I think most of the time I felt my age to either or in within a few years, you know. So sometimes I feel a little younger, sometimes I feel older, especially if you spend time with older people. Um, Age stops to really feel like it matters. And like if you're 20 and you're spending time mostly with like 20, 27-year-olds, then you're just like, okay, like you, it's hard to think about like your age and the relevance there.
Yeah.
Unless, unless I feel like when you're spending time with older folk who are like, like closer to like 50s, 60s, that's when obviously it feels
You
like,
feel
okay,
big
we're,
age gap.
yeah. And you're in a, you're more of a subordinate position where you're saying like you're there to learn, you're there to listen. Usually you're
Yeah.
not there to teach, at least
I
yet.
I think your surroundings is what makes you feel your age. If you're around really younger people, you obviously feel an age difference.
Yeah.
Like just their mindset. Honestly, even somebody like 16, 15, you're probably going to feel a lot bigger difference if they don't have like a full-time job, if they're not in, more serious stage of life. I think that's probably the biggest shift where you're going to feel a big difference.
Yeah.
Where like, okay, I'm actually older. I'm not the same like, this 15-year-old
Hmm.
compared to you're talking to a 30-year-old, you can already kind of relate to what they're saying. You feel like you're more on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it definitely has
I
that
think,
effect.
yeah, I think it matters on who you're around and what situations you're in more than because if you're just by yourself, there's nothing to gauge your age off of.
See, that's a good question. Yeah. Because if you just are put in a blank room and all of a sudden you have amnesia, you're not going to aid yourself.
No, exactly. Anyways, I think you need to dip, right? You said 2:30. We're 12
I
minutes
actually
over.
have like 30, 40 more minutes, so I'm good.
Okay. But I'm all out of questions right now. I freestyle, this is actually, I'll just say this. I have a problem. People say it's really important to think through what you're going to say before you say it. My brain works so weird. A lot of times I'm asking a question before I have a question to ask. And then immediately I'll have a good question. Sometimes I'll have a good question, sometimes I'll have garbage. Like when I'm even just having conversations with people.
Yeah.
I'll start a sentence before I have a question because that's how my brain works.
Hmm.
It's so weird. When I say something out loud, then immediately everything starts firing and I'm starting to have a bunch of ideas. Like it's very odd. It's like freestyling all the time, is what it feels like.
Hmm. That is
How
interesting.
does
Yeah.
your thought process work? Because I'm assuming you kind of mull over a question before you ask it. Sometimes I'll have that for sure, but I think,
Yeah.
yeah, more times than not, I'm just kind of,
I definitely feel you. I think that when I'm comfortable and when I'm around friends, I feel a lot like that. So I'm just shooting. And that's when a lot of stupid stuff comes out. Maybe a lot of this stuff comes out. But if you ask my friends, most of the time it's like, yeah, Josh, when he gets comfortable, it's getting late. Yeah, bro, like it's not
yeah.
good.
I think that's a little different, but like I'm saying, like serious questions. Like you're in
Serious
a good
questions
state of mind.
I try to mull over a little bit. And that's coming back to actually that person I mentioned, who was very intentional. Um, Early on, I started to learn that they knew how to ask questions, and they knew how to ask questions to get the answer that they wanted. Um,
Hmm.
and this was interesting because I actually have another person who experienced being asked a question by them in a test form. So they were taking a test, or it was like something like that. It was a questionnaire, but the question was so exact and so well formulated that you couldn't lie, you couldn't get out of it, and answering it puts you in a puts you in
Pickle.
a pickle. It puts you in a back position because you're revealing something about yourself that's probably in that context is probably bad. Um, and it was fascinating because
Hmm.
the person who was telling me about this, it was like I didn't get it. I was like how did they like this question got me? You know what I mean? Like I there's no way to get around it. I'm trying to think like I'm not even thinking of how to answer it. I'm just thinking of how do I get around this question. Um, it was fascinating. It was really interesting. But learning from like those types of things, and I think I've been pretty fascinated in the last year on
You disappeared, sir.
did
There we
we
go.
did you cut out there?
I think you might have.
I
On
think you
my
cut
end,
out.
you cut out.
Okay, well we both cut out.
All right, continue.
Where did we leave off? What's the last thing you heard me say?
Oh shoot. I was literally thinking about the last thing you said so I can remind you.
We're
It
asking about
was
questions, talking about questions, asking questions.
yeah, and then you were saying like, obviously intentionality, the person, and you got stuck. There's a question that you couldn't get around and you were trying to get around it. And then
Yeah,
something about your friend, I think.
yeah. So I was just trying to pull that example up, but it's okay. We got what we got. Um, but essentially, the quote is, whoever is asking the question is in control of the conversation. And I that actually gives me a lot of peace when I need to go network or need to go meet new people. So if I'm meeting new people in a new place, I know that whoever's asking the question is in control of the conversation. That doesn't mean that you also always need to be asking the questions. That helps you understand the position that you're in. So for example, if I go and visit a new place that I haven't been to ever, most of the time you're not the one asking questions. Most of the time people are saying that, hey, this is somebody new, and I'm going to ask them a question. And you're just answering
Mm,
questions. But you're aware that they're in charge of the conversation right now. They can choose to stay or leave. Obviously you can choose to leave or stay, but in regards of a polite conversation, they're in control. And that's also where you can learn to be in control. So if I'm asking the right questions, I am dictating the conversation. It's
Mm.
not the person who's answering, which most of the time people think that. So most of the time someone's comfortable and they're just like, or how should I say this? Most of the time people like talking about themselves, which is just like true.
Yeah,
And but the person who's asking the questions is usually in charge of the conversation, where the person being or the person getting asked the questions talking about themselves, they usually think that they're in control.
exactly. Why do you think I've been asking questions the whole time? I'm kidding.
It's deep, bro.
Yeah, I noticed that. I
Yeah.
think like last time I recorded and it didn't go through, I had that thought like while you're talking, I was learning, okay, now I've been trying to learn this skill for a long time. While someone's talking, listen to what they're saying and process it. And then from what they're saying, if you're able to pull another good question out that kind of follows up and kind of flows out of that,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
that's like something I've been intentionally trying to learn is I can talk very good about a lot of nothing. I'm very
Yep.
good at talking a lot about nothing, like extremely good. Like I can pull a conversation out of nothing, and it's
You
not
should
gonna
do
make
you should do one of those TED Talks where the guy's
you.
like talking about nothing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, dude.
He's like, now I'm
Or
walking across the stage, and it's like all about his body languages and his tonalities, but he's talking
hmm
about nothing, and it's interesting, and you keep watching, and you're just like, whoa, what is he about to say?
it's
Maybe he
about
does say
tone.
something good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's learning how to like move, how to express yourself so people find it interesting what you're
yeah.
saying, but you're saying nothing. You know that one guy that does those like really funny seminar TED talks. Like he'll pull a gun out. So
Oh
it's like
yeah,
skits. That guy, or
I
he has.
think
They're pretty inappropriate, most
the
of them.
guys they're called Friday beers, right? Something like that.
I don't. He has the slick back hair all the time.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
a skill, dude.
Those guys are fun.
They are.
Have you seen the
They
ones
are.
where they'll like fake a video of like him talking to Rogan or Huberman?
Yeah.
Dude, those
Those
things
are
are so
funny.
funny. You know.
Those are very funny. Yeah. What are you hoping to learn from Bizbros, like the startup? Like what's your end goal? Like what's your ideal? I'm not saying like the business succeeds. How do you hope to either walk away from or walk into from this, if that makes sense?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that the goal for me on a personal level, like not monetary, would be would be to enhance essentially my skill set. And the reason why that's not necessarily, or the reason why is either the business grows and we stay and we're operating it, which then, learning new skills and learning new things helps. Or if we go to sell, or if we close, whatever happens, learning new skills will help you either start something else or do something else. It's been fascinating seeing the stark difference between our first idea and actually doing it.
Mm,
Like I realized that it was true, and at first I was um I was a little bit sorry, I got a notification there. And at first I was a little bit concerned about that aspect in the sense of like I was like, oh man, this is just an idea, but it's a great idea. Like we should do this, we should really do this, but we're not doing it.
yeah, yeah.
And it was that. It was talking about nothing. And we were like big dreams and big goals, but the difference between that and actually doing it is so fascinating. And there's already so much we've learned, even about like working with somebody across America. Like it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
And you have to have like determination, like for real, and patience and endurance through different things. And I think that it's already been a thing where I now know the difference between having an idea and actually acting on it, which is actually really interesting because before I've never acted on an idea, like a business idea,
Yeah.
and that meant that I didn't know the difference. So now
Yep.
when I hear an idea, whoosh, like an idea is flying around,
You know
I'm like,
what's
oh, that's a
behind
cool
it.
idea. Oh, what's behind that? Like, how would that
Yeah.
become, oh, we're posting the website, oh, we're doing this, or we're talking to partners, or we're doing this. There's such a big disconnect there. And
Hmm.
how do I say this? Like the BS monitor is so much stronger now
Yeah.
because you start to see, oh, okay, this idea is good. But the cool thing is though, is like there's some good ideas out there and a lot of people that don't know how to act on them.
Yep.
And there's a lot of opportunities there. So like there's also that aspect of now you know how to take an idea to starting something. There you go. Now
Exactly.
take any idea and start something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I
That's
feel like in a nutshell, that's kind of what I'm thinking about and what I've been what I've been already learning and what I'm hoping to learn. But I think like just hands-on stuff. I'm excited to launch. I'm excited to like be looking at numbers and saying,
yeah.
okay, if sales are dipping, what can we do? How can we promote this? Who can we talk to? Can we, go retail? Can we do partnerships with creators? Like all that's super fascinating. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
I'm excited, dude. This is round two for me. Going from an idea,
Yeah.
having big dreams, big goals. You see other successful people and you're like, oh, I could do that. Easy. Well, just this similar idea. Like it's gonna happen. And
Yep.
then you start seeing what's behind it, like when I started this business, and it's like, dang, how much work. I can't, the amount of work I put into this business that I have currently, I'm
Yep.
afraid to do that again. It
It's
is
scary.
like every time I hear an idea from
Yep.
someone, I'm like, amazing. Yeah, great. Good luck. Like, good luck. I'm shocked that I
Yeah.
stuck through with this business. I started with 5 grand and a hand crank sewing machine and 14 hours a day on nothing, not knowing what I'm doing. I'm talking about like winging it to a degree that's just scary. And so like every time I hear an idea, I'm like, I know what goes behind it, but this idea stuck to me so much, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like that, you started coming into the office room where I was sitting, and you
Yep.
were just chilling, and then we go on Alibaba, and I'm, oh, like these products are sick. Wait, what about look at these people, look at these websites. We can do the same thing, but kind of like in a bigger scale,
Hmm.
do all of them instead of just one of these.
Yep.
And then we had a bunch of like we completely stopped talking about it for a bit. And then we had a bunch of calls and nothing's happening. We're just talking about doing things.
Yep.
And then just one day for some reason we just decided, all right, we're doing it. Something
I
happened. I don't know what switched. Like
it was
from
like I
theory
think
to like there's people.
I feel
Things
like it
are
was like
happening.
mid December is when
Yeah.
that click happened. I feel like we got at least I got pretty disappointed after Black Friday, where it was like we were like hoping like we're gonna get it before Black Friday. And again, talk, and we
Yeah.
didn't do much and didn't get anything done, obviously. And that was like shoot, like we didn't do this. And I was like,
Yeah.
um, I remember like telling people like we're about to do this, we're about to do this. And that was interesting
Yeah.
because I was like, oh wow, like those people now know that I didn't do it, what I said I was gonna do. And that
Hmm.
obviously taught me to, have a better grip on what I'm saying and like knowing the realities of what I'm saying. Um, but it was also interesting because I was like, oh, I actually don't care what they think. So let's just keep going. Let's do
Yeah.
this. So
But being like accountable to yourself, realizing not to
yeah,
let yourself dream too much to the point where it's like you believe a lie. Like
for sure.
that's the thing is being honest with yourself. Like, dude, it's gonna take way more work to get there. Like we've been
Yep.
putting in a good amount of work and we're not even close. Like we have a bunch of stuff ahead of us to get to where we want to. Like we
Yep.
gotta go through right now over 100 influencers that start reaching out and start like
It'll be fun.
find money for new products.
Yep.
That's going to be an interesting one for me. I got to pull some really magic tricks to get that going again.
Yeah, we'll have to move some things around for sure. It's gonna be fun.
Move some bank robberies around.
Yeah. I used to like to tell people that until I had to start actually doing it. Well, I don't like move money around, but um, I used to tell people that they're like, "Oh, we need money for this, or we need to do this, or this and that." And I would always joke like, "Oh yeah, I'll
Move some money
call
around.
my guy. We'll move some
Oh,
money
yeah.
around. We'll do this. We'll do that." It was like funny to joke, but um, and we're getting there.
Yeah,
Um,
I moved some money around. I always move money around. It goes from my account and it just spins around somewhere out there. It's always away from me. The
it's
money
always
moves away faster than it comes in a lot of the time. That's what it feels
Uh,
like, at least. I've moved a lot of money around, but it's never stayed. It goes around me.
that's what
That's
you
literally what
gotta.
it feels like.
Yeah, that's the next step there. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking to learn and to take away from Biz Bros?
Discipline, meaning being a man of my word. I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I told someone I'm going to get them something, I'm going to get it for them. Learning how to work with other people and having a successful partnership that has a lot of papers, a lot of this is your responsibility, this is my responsibility. You do this, I do this. You don't do this, we're gonna have a problem. I don't do this, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah,
Learning a successful partnership because my business started with an unsuccessful partnership where there was no clear responsibilities and a lot of it was just fluff. It was all fugazi, whatever you want to call it. You
yep,
know, a lot of nothing, and a lot of talk. And I'm really encouraged that our talk went from just theory to action. And these are the steps we need to take. And we're still having a hard time, like, all right, let's get this done, let's knock this out. But I would
yeah,
say we're getting significantly better with that. So I think I want to learn, aside from the business becoming successful, learn how to work with other people towards the same goal and not allow things to get in between that, for not to get personal, for not to be doing my best to make sure that I understand that we're all aimed towards the same direction and not
yeah,
allowing personal issues get in between that, if that makes sense.
yeah.
I don't think we've
Mhm.
really had any, but I'm still saying like there's going to be and there have been probably things where someone's not happy with the other person,
Yeah,
but just learning, hey, we still got to keep moving. It doesn't matter. Like
yeah.
not letting emotions or all of that get in the way, which was the previous issue that I had.
Hmm.
I think that's big.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Mm.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I'm excited to learn how to like do things legit, track every dollar. Like I want to get this thing dialed in, you know. I want it
Yep,
to be so legit where if someone asks a question, I have the answer, you know. How much have you spent? Boom. How much do you make profit? Boom. How much, you know, what's your top line? What's your bottom line? How much
yep,
do you need to keep this going? So I think that's what's going to be good.
yeah. Well, we're at less than a minute left here.
Yeah. I
Perfect
mean,
time.
yeah, literally perfect
Yeah,
because I got to
that's
get
awesome.
going.
Yeah, this
Anyways,
is
bro,
awesome. This was awesome. Thanks, man, for taking the
no,
time.
thank you. Well, you have a good day.
You too,
We'll
man.
talk soon.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Peace.